Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanditamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriyai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so today is 1816, unless something changed. So chapter 18, text 16. Alrighty, so we will chant the Sanskrit and translations in unison. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyatya krita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Translation. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the five factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Text 17. Yasya nahan krito bhavo buddhir yasya nalipyate hitvapi sa ima lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. Translation. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, is not the slayer, nor is he bound by his actions. Text 18. Jnanam geyam parijnata trividha karma chodana karanam karma karteti trividha karma sangraha. Translation. Knowledge. The object of knowledge and the knower are the three factors which motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer comprise the threefold basis of action. Text 19. Jnanam karma cha karta cha trivihaiva guna bedataha prochete guna sangyane yathavach trinuthanyapi. Translation. In accordance with the three modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action and performers of action. Listen as I describe them. Text 20. Sarva bhuteshu yanaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidhi satvikam. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all existences, undivided in the divided, is knowledge in the mode of goodness. Text 21. Pritak tvena tu yajnanam nana bhavan pritak vidhan viti sarveshu bhuteshu tajjnanam vidhi rajasam. That knowledge by which a different type of living entity is seen to be dwelling in different bodies is knowledge in the mode of passion. Text 22. Yattu kritsnavad ekasmin karye saktam ahaitukam atatvartavad alpam cha tattamasam udahritam. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Text 23. Niyatam sangarahitam araga dveshata kritam aphala prepsuna karma yatat satvikam uchyate. As for actions, that action in accordance with duty, which is performed without attachment, without love or hate, by one who has renounced fruit of results, is action in the mode of goodness. We're on chapter 18, text 24. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankare nava punaha kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasam udahritam. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires, and which is enacted from a sense of false ego, is called action in the mode of passion. Text 25. Anubandham kshayam himsa anapeksha cha paurusham mohad arbhyate karma yatat tamasam ujyate. And that action performed in ignorance and delusion without consideration of future bondage or consequences, which inflicts injury and is impractical, is said to be action in the mode of ignorance. Text 26, the final text. Mukta sango naham badi drityutsaha samanvitaha siddhya siddhyor nirvikara karta sattvika uchyate. The worker who is free from all material attachments and false ego, who is enthusiastic and resolute, and who is indifferent to success or failure, is a worker in the mode of goodness. All right. So, back to chapter 18, text 16. Really nice verses here. With your permission, devotees, I'll try to read as much as we can here. If you'd like that also, then we can do that. And then I may try to speak something after we hear sufficiently from Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so chapter 18, text 16, translation. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the five factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Purport. A foolish person cannot understand that the Supersoul is sitting as a friend within and conducting his actions. Although the material causes are the place, the worker, the endeavor, and the senses, the final cause is the Supreme, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should see not only the four material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. One who does not see the Supreme thinks himself to be the instrument. So on this one, I just remembered there's some texts in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about the sadhaka who is not able to see that the Lord is situated within the hearts of everyone, and only sees the Lord within his worshipable deity and not within the hearts of others. So this is important, that this will help us to become free from the tendency for fault-finding and to see things in a very holistic way, understanding that the Lord is at play, or the Lord's hand is at play, or the Lord's hand is within everything that happens. So we always have to remember his role, and this will help us be free from the false notion that we are the controller ourselves. Not everything goes my way, and not everything will go my way, because I don't have a perfect harmonious will with the Supreme Lord. Everything is going His way, ultimately. So it helps us when we recognize that. Text 17. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, is not the slayer, nor is he bound by his actions. Purport. In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Arjuna thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without. If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? But one who knows the instrument of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the supreme sanctioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never in illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from false ego and godlessness, or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Super Soul, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing, does not kill, nor is he ever affected with the reactions of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. This is a nice example. This is highlighting the importance of receiving sanction. So in our Krishna consciousness movement, we hear a lot of terms like authority, instructions, surrender, obedience. But sometimes we don't like those words. And actually, according to our conditioned nature, we hate those words. Right? We really hate them. When we hear from Srila Prabhupada, then we start to warm up to the idea, obedience? That I wish I had that. That would help me a lot because I'm such an ignorant person. I would be saved a lot of trouble if I would just obey the proper person. And then we start thinking, surrender, humbling oneself before the authorities. We like the idea, authority. This is somebody who I can trust, who I can have faith in, who I can follow. How fortunate I am to have such a person in my life. But according to our conditioned nature, which will rear its head as soon as we become a little aloof from full devotional service. As soon as we become a little aloof from full-time engagement in devotional service, this false ego, he rears his head and he hates authority. He despises authority. Whereas in the Krishna consciousness reality, we love authority. Who is our authority? Ultimately, our authority is Krishna, but we serve Krishna through the internal potency, through Srimati Radharani. She's the one who really knows about serving Krishna. And we love to learn about serving Krishna by the ones who know how to serve. Right? Because we're free from any false pride. So this is the transcendental world of Krishna conscious, competition, actually, is to appreciate. Krishna conscious competition means we see, wow, this devotee is doing so many nice things for Krishna. When can I do something nice for Krishna? Maybe I can ask them how to improve, or maybe I can get a tutorial from them. Maybe I can humble myself before that person to receive guidance, direct instructions. Maybe I can kind of toughen my skin a little bit by the Lord's grace, or I can pray that my skin can get toughened so I can actually take some criticism, which will help me grow in my service. That's a really favorable consciousness, is to pray for the receptibility. Pray to become receptive to the Lord's plans for us in devotional service, which we can understand His plans through the plans of the devotees. That's discussed by Prabhupada in some purports where he says the plans of the devotees are just as good as his plans. Which devotees? The ones who are properly, fully engaged in devotional service in the parampara system. Not just anybody who, the one who says they're my devotee, but the one who's the devotee of my devotees, they're with the team. They're really in with me. Krishna says, he actually discusses that in the Adi, as far as I understand, it's called the Adi Purana. And he has one verse like that. So, the point I was trying to make is that Prabhupada here is pointing out that how one who has sanction. So who's giving that sanction? That sanction is done by Krishna ultimately in this material world through his potency as a super soul. Right? So he's giving sanction to everybody. But one who acts in accordance with him is free from reactions. Right? And one who is disregarding him, right? Then that person has to have the results of his actions. Ultimately, it's interesting because knowledge is very key here. Knowledge is actually freeing one from reactions. If we understand that he's actually sanctioning from within the heart, by his potency I can actually act in this material world. I don't have the ability to satisfy my desires or act upon my desires. The Lord has to empower me to act upon my desires. So if I understand that he's there helping me act in this material world, right? Or act out my desires, Krishna is describing that this person, right? This person is actually free from the bondage to action. So there's nothing so sublime as this transcendental knowledge. Once we understand the Lord's role in our life, then we become free. We become actually free. So it's interesting. One who recognizes that we're always dependent, he actually becomes free, right? He becomes free by that knowledge. Whereas one who denies his dependency, right? He makes his declaration of independence. Such a person is always bound by the laws of nature, which are very strict, super strict. Very exacting laws of karma. They're so exacting that if you give a donation to somebody, that same soul has to give it back to you some other time. The law of karma is so involved, it's so tight that Prabhupada describes it. If you kill some beast, some creature, that same person will come back some other time. And there's some stories like that. I heard the one about Dhritarashtra. And sometimes we hear about these things, how it's so folded. One time, long time ago, Dhritarashtra, he killed, or he somehow there were some birds, and there was 100 birds there. And the baby birds, there was 100 baby birds, and they were all destroyed. He killed them somehow. Right? So he had to go through karma for some time until he became pious enough to have 100 sons. Then they were all killed. So this is Krishna's laws of nature. This is far out, how everything is so tightly arranged. And it's not just easy to see that. We have to be specially empowered to see that, how it's so exacting. Everybody's getting exactly what they deserve. Now that's tough. That's tough. So this is talking about one who kills in this world, right? He's not the slayer. So he got sanction from within, right? Krishna was giving sanction from within to enact in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna. And from without, he was also getting instruction. But he, on the basis of his bodily identification or the lila that he was enacting with Krishna, then he decided not to. So this is a very intricate point. I hope that maybe I can understand more about this later as I do more studying and everything. So please pardon me if it wasn't exactly as it should be. So let's read text 18. Here we go. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors which motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer comprise the threefold basis of action. Purport. There are three kinds of impetus for daily work: knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. The instruments of work, the work itself, and the worker are called the constituents of work. Any work done by any human being has these elements. Before one acts, there is some impetus, which is called inspiration. Any solution arrived at before work is actualized is a subtle form of work. Then work takes the form of action. First, one has to undergo the psychological processes of thinking, feeling, and willing, and that is called impetus. Actually, the faith to perform acts is called knowledge. The inspiration to work is the same if it comes from the scripture or from the instruction of the spiritual master. When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then actual activity takes place by the help of the senses. The mind is the center of all senses, and the object is work itself. These are the different phases of work as described in Bhagavad Gita. The sum total of all activities is called accumulation of work. Very scientific. We can kind of keep hearing this till it kind of clicks, all the pieces click. But I like this about the thinking, feeling, willing. There's a psychological processes that actually are called impetus. Thinking, feeling, willing. And actually impetus is there. Impetus has to be there, right? That's called inspiration. So we become inspired. Usually there's some input. And we become inspired. We start thinking about it. Then we start feeling about it. Then we will to do it. This is what's so important by hearing from the pure devotees of the Lord. It's because they're always thinking, feeling, and willing for the benefit of all the conditioned souls, for the welfare of all persons. And actually somebody who's Krishna conscious, that's their only business, is to think of the welfare of every person. The sages at Naimisharanya, they were meeting. Let's talk. Why are we talking? Why are we discussing? Why are we assembled? To figure out what is the essence of all religions for the benefit of everybody, everywhere, for all time. That's what we want to know. And actually, that's why we're assembled here today, right? That's what we're doing. When we hear the Bhagavatam, when we hear the Gita, we are following the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya. And we are meeting for that purpose. Right? We can't save anybody until we save ourselves. Right? But we know that's there. Where did we get that desire to help others and to wish well for others? We got that from the devotees. You know? So we started thinking about it. Wow, that sounds nice. We started feeling, yes, I should be that type of person. Yes, the world should be better. The world should improve. And then we start willing. How can I actually make that into effect? Well, I have to become pure myself. And then again and again. So when we hear and hear, then these things are natural. That's what's so important. We fill our mind with these high-level, very high-level desires. You know, we hear the songs of the acharyas and we hear their desires are just like so colossal, so far out. You know, there's devotees that they talk about how the flood of love of God is completely inundating the whole universe now that Lord Chaitanya has come in his golden form. Now that Lord Krishna has come in his golden form as Lord Chaitanya. Everywhere they're chanting the holy name and everywhere. Now because Lord Chaitanya has come. You know? So these are the types of dreams. This is the type of thinking of the pure devotees. And then comes feeling, then comes willing. So like that. This is called inspiration. We all need inspiration, right? And the best inspiration comes from the pure devotees of the Lord, you know? So we got to hear from them as much as possible and always try to follow close behind in their footsteps. Srila Prabhupada writes in the preface to the preface or the introduction to the Nectar of Instruction that we never think ourselves like a very great preacher, but we're simply trying to be instrumental to the previous acharyas, you know. And we can see if you see Prabhupada's life, that's how he lived his life. You know, you saw it in his words, you saw it in his behavior, you saw it in his lectures, his books, right? I was always there. He wasn't afraid to, you know, take their guidance and to work on their instructions or in line with them. And through the Acharya's blessings, Prabhupada was able to do so many wonderful works that the previous Acharyas seemingly didn't do yet. But we can understand something very, very mystical here, is that the work is already done. The subtle form of work has already been accomplished. All these previous acharyas have already desired the entire universe to be liberated, to be inundated in the love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already done that. Of course, the Lord's will is different than, you know, the will of, he's in a different category, really. But at the same time, as soon as the pure devotee desires in a certain way, the Lord is so purchased by that pure devotee's loving service that he has to make his words true. You know, so then they were discussing in Los Angeles, as far as I understand, they were discussing in Los Angeles, and His Holiness Vishnu Jan Swami asked about, you know, what if the Vaishnava is so powerful, he can deliver the entire world? You know, why didn't he do it? Prabhupada said, they were speaking about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he said because he wanted to leave it for us, you know, and so we were playing that role. So we take inspiration from them, and we do a lot of subtle work in the field of Krishna consciousness. This is a great science, and there's a lot of work to do, which is on the subtle platform. And if we can understand how valuable the subtle platform is, then we can actually wake up to higher and higher levels of Krishna consciousness. Like, we may not be able to externally execute some service, you know, exactly the way that we'd like it to be done. And if we were to get involved in that service directly, personally, grossly, we may actually disregard some other aspects which are important too, like how that service will affect other devotees or so many other intricacies. So we have to do quite a bit of subtle work, which may seem like we're wasting time or just going over things, but one can understand how valuable that is. He starts to consider, oh, this devotee is like this devotee is working in this way, he has this schedule and that's going on. So then we become calculated. Our services become calculated. And it's just like there's some Bengali phrase that says, if there's a question whether to eat or not eat, you don't eat. If there's a question to go or not go, you know, then you don't go. Of course, when the call of nature is there, you must go. So these are the types of things that, you know, if we wanted to, we can understand the value of proper planning So it's executed, in the right way. Because there may be a little bit of my selfish interest in there when I act on when I just have to get involved on the gross level. I just have to say something right now. I have to do it right now. Yes, it's probably coming from a very nice place, which is that there's something that's very important to us, a principle of devotional service that we're trying to actually adhere to or act upon. But then the detail is that it may not have to be done immediately right then. It may take a little more subtle work to make it very nice and refined. Anyway, so those are some points on this topic. Okay, so let's look at 19 here. In accordance with the three modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action, and performers of action. Listen as I describe them. Purport. In the 14th chapter, the three divisions of the modes of material nature are elaborately described. In that chapter, it is said that the mode of goodness is illuminating, the mode of passion materialistic, and the mode of ignorance conducive to laziness and indolence. All the modes of material nature are binding. They are not sources of liberation. Even in the mode of goodness, one is conditioned. In the 17th chapter, the different types of worship by different types of men in different modes of material nature were described. In this verse, the Lord wishes to speak about the different types of knowledge, workers, and work itself according to the three material modes. Text 20. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all existences, undivided in the divided, is knowledge in the mode of goodness. Purport. A person who sees one spirit soul in every living being, whether a demigod, human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, or plant, possesses knowledge in the mode of goodness. In all living entities, one spirit soul is there, although they have different bodies in terms of their previous work. As described in the 7th chapter, the manifestation of the living force in every body is due to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. Thus, to see that one superior nature, that living force in every body, is to see in the mode of goodness. That living energy is imperishable, although the bodies are perishable. The difference is perceived in terms of the body because there are many forms of material existence in conditional life. Therefore, they appear to be divided. Such impersonal knowledge finally leads to self-realization. So this is when we start to understand that there's this Chaitana, this consciousness. This consciousness, Chaitanya, Prabhupada describes in the TLC, that Chaitanya means living force, right? It says living force. The impersonalists, like it's stated that, I think it was Prakashananda Sarasvati, he could say Chaitanya and Atma and different words like that, but he couldn't say the word Krishna. So finally, the impersonal vision goes to the personal, if one is fortunate. How many times? Bahunam janmanam ante, after many, many births, or if he meets the devotee, then immediately he can actually elevate to the pure devotional platform, by contact with the pure devotee of the Lord. Just like we were hearing from Valmiki Prabhu, he was, these mudhas can be elevated, right away by contact with the pure devotee. So, yeah, in Krishna consciousness, we understand ultimately pandita samadarshinaha, right? That the real pandit, the real learned person, humble sage by virtue of true knowledge, right? That's the word pandita is translated like that. The humble sage by virtue of true knowledge. That's the word pandita, right? So a pandit should be a humble sage by virtue of true knowledge, right? Such a person can see the learned and gentle Brahmana, right? What's the first word of it? Yeah. Vidya, right? Right? He's learned and gentle. So learned and gentle Brahmana. Sometimes that gets confused. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane. Those 4 words actually are together. Of course, the Vaishnava or the Pandit is also a Brahmana. This is kind of a side point, but I wanted to mention that because the Brahmana is described in that verse with the most words, where the other terms of living entities are described with just their name. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane. He's equipped with learning and gentleness. But the word Pandita is translated, the humble sage by virtue of true knowledge, sees, right, the gentle Brahmana like that. Anyway, but of course the Pandita has those qualities also. Sorry to go into that again. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So, what does he see though? He sees there's the Lord within the heart and there's an individual living entity. So he sees the consciousness, he sees this conscious living force, but he also distinguishes between that. He knows more about that. So it's actually a higher platform of realization. Right? So, okay. So, I wanted to read this. Okay, so now I'll ask you devotees. If there's anything that you would like to bring up now, we can do that. Or I can try to read through the rest of these purports, whatever you think is most beneficial. Okay, Krishna Prabhu.
So, we may be fortunate to receive a certain service, or maybe if it's not even a designated service, it's service such as chanting or hearing, and we may take it very seriously, whatever our service may be, cooking or pujari or whatever it may be. How can we learn to progress past seeing just me and my service to the Lord, versus seeing how my service affects others, or creating more of an atmosphere for others to grow in their service also. You were talking about praying to develop some thick skin, because we often get so absorbed in our service, and then if others try to tell us how to do it better, we're usually not so open. Because, we think, oh, this is my service, I'm putting so much into it, I know. Maybe grossly or subtle. So how can we, move past that and be more receptive and actually learn to put Krishna, to put Guru in the center?
Yeah. Association is so key. If we associate with those who actually are open to receiving guidance and criticism, then that means we're associating with very advanced devotees. The neophyte devotees, the materialistic devotees, they have their own motives. So they're doing the devotional service of the Lord, but they have some in it for them, something they're getting out of it, right? But the advanced devotees of the Lord, they want to become completely free from all motivation, selfish motivation, and they want to take inspiration from those who are completely pure. So associating with such persons is the easy trick to also get that type of attitude, to be open to criticism. It's just like, you can imagine, it's, we're not able to really to understand the humility in the spiritual world, but they really want to serve Krishna, and they don't think that they're serving Krishna. They really want to serve Krishna. and they think that they're far away from serving him, actually. You know? So if somebody says, hey, you need to work on this, how much the gratitude, we can't understand, actually. The amount of appreciation they have for devotee association is impossible. But we can get a glimpse. The Narottam Das Thakur prays, I will take my birth after birth to live with the devotees who will tell me how to serve Krishna, who will force me to serve Krishna. They'll drag me kicking and screaming to serve Krishna because they know that I need it. And I also want that. I'm not afraid to have a little, rug burn when I try to fight against the devotees, when they're trying to drag me to Krishna's lotus feet. Anyway, so our ego will be smashed. If you want to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, get ready to be humbled. Because it's not easy. It's, in one sense, it's not practical or reasonable to expect that we will humble ourselves. So be ready to be humbled. Anyway, so associating with those who are receptive to criticism and improvements, we'll get that quality too. It rubs off. So that's described even by Hiranyakashipu. He describes how it's like a prism. When you hold up something. I forgot exactly how he made the analogy work, but Hiranyakashipu himself was talking about the value of association. It's so potent. So even materialists understand that principle. But specifically, about consideration. We have to become considerate. Actually, how can we be Krishna conscious if we're not conscious? So, I'm not free from this. So many ignorances, right? So many things that I'm ignorant of. But one thing that really has become like a meditation is something that actually my mom used to teach me this. It's like it's sub-religious. It's like sub-spiritual. But it's such the ABCs. She said, whenever you go to a place, make sure it's cleaner than you found it. You leave it cleaner than you found it. It means you automatically have to be conscientious. Be conscious. How have I impacted this space? How was it? What is it like now? And what is it like when I leave? So this is like super gross. This is just like the absolute basics. Let me be conscientious and considerate. When I go into a space, what did I do to that space? What kind of breadcrumbs did I leave for somebody else to find? Right? Or did I improve it? Did I elevate it? Did I uplift it? Cleaning is always good. Materialists should be cleaning, everything cleaning. Why not? That's good. Better for Krishna consciousness. Something's getting clean. Great. Let's clean it up. Clean up everything. And so this is a really basic thing. But we can understand. Anybody who is trying to do some service in this space after I was there, it'll be better for them. But we also have to understand, where's our boundaries? Where is our parameters? So that's really important. We have our service. We should try to understand from our teammates. I can use the word authorities, but like I said before, we hate that word. But if I say my team, check with the team. No? Gotta check with the team. That is more reasonable. Oh yeah, I like to be on the team when the team's winning and I'm the superstar. Player number 1. Top of the list. Most points. But anyway, I'll be on the team. I'll give a little credit. Anyway, so check with the team. You know, kind of put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, what would it be like, you know, if, you know, if I got involved. Now, for some people, it's their duty. Just like, I kind of take it like, I'll be everybody's mom. That's my service. I'm everybody's mom, kind of like their mom. So sometimes I got to clean up after people. That's okay. I like to do that. Right? It's also my service to help them understand how important it is to be tidy and neat and clean. But at the end of the day, it's my service to keep the house clean. You know? And if I don't do it, it may not get done. The kids may just not be mature enough to do it themselves. So I may have to just do it. But at the same time, there's boundaries. There's parameters. So understand those parameters by cooperating and communicating. Communication is really helpful. So I've been going around on that point. I don't know much about it, to be honest. I wish I knew more. And as a team, we can help each other grow in this way. And we can learn how to kind of come out of our own sense of grandeur. I know what I'm doing. I'm really advanced. I'm doing a lot for Krishna. I'm really pushing hard for Krishna. And we can see, wow, the Lord is so kind. The Lord is so merciful. I'm able to do a little something. And the devotees are helping me, supporting me. And with their association, we can hope to do some insignificant service for Prabhupada in the mission. And I have my little part to play, and I'm very proud of that I get to be a part of such a wonderful team. So the consciousness can change by cooperation and communication. Those are some points. Thank you for your question. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.